Hello everyone, my name's FlareBlitzed and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Is Shizune really swamped with student council work, or is there something else that's holding up her time? A couple of days later, Shizune heads off to go eat lunch by herself and doesn't come back. She must really be swamped with student council work, although I know that she probably made most of that work for herself. When I get to the student council room, I find the door unlocked. Before I open it, I hold back for a second to see if I hear Misha laughing. Misha's laughing through it. Nothing. I almost take that as a sign that no one's in, but Shizune wouldn't leave the door unlocked in that case. Silence. She's at her desk, asleep in her chair with her arms folded over her chest. What a stiff pose. If it weren't for her eyes being closed, there'd be no way to tell that she was asleep. In fact, I can't even be sure that she is asleep now. Normally I'd tap her desk to wake anyone up, but it wouldn't work with her. No. I immediately start thinking of tricks I could play on her if she's sleeping. It's disappointing, but I'm trying to four ghosts in these kind of directions. Opportunities await. Hello, good afternoon. She signs one greeting with each hand. It's really confusing. Hey, what were you doing? Secretly slacking off? Shizune smiles but lowers her head to conceal it, and tries her best to look annoyed instead. Don't just stand there, it makes me nervous if I'm sitting down and you're not. Really, it's almost like you want to be the one that's standing up and us sitting down, the more authoritative position. I take a seat in the nearest chair while Shizune pauses to adjust her glasses on the bridge of her nose like she's fine-tuning an instrument. Why are you so far away? Well, you wanted us to sit down, didn't you? Like, isn't that what it's supposed to... Does that make you nervous too? Pursing her lips, Shizune doesn't look too amused at my taunting her. I had some free time, so I thought I'd drop by and see if you're still busy. Do you want to help me? Yeah. Too bad. I'm grateful, but it's not necessary. I just finished the last of it, and now everything that needed to be done is done. So formal. Misha was just as businesslike yesterday. Are you both getting serious for official student council business? I'm always student. I mean serious. I'm always a student though. Like the student council candidates should be. That was fast, from zero to immediately criticizing people who aren't even her colleagues yet before I've even had the chance to stretch my legs. At least the presidents. They need initiative. Then maybe they can motivate everyone else, or at least strong-arm them along. But even though there's a bunch of them, they're also wishy-washy. There's no one running for vice president, so they all want the big prize, but none of them have the right drive for it. And then the treasurers are always so flaky. I've decided to use my power to just eliminate the position. Wait a second, please? Can you even do that? I don't think it works that way. It is how it is. Well, there's only so few people here, so... With that, Shizune stares grimly into the distance, rubbing the frame of her glasses. That doesn't answer the question. Future dictator. Dictator. I'm disappointed. They should want me out of here faster because they want the job, or at least disagree with me having the job. If I can't mobilize a bunch of students, cancel wannabes for either reason, all my work would have been for nothing. If they're going to be so slow about it, I'll just hold on to my office as long as possible. Shizune punctuates the sentence with a snap of her fingers again, creating a sound as sharp as a gunshot. Only she knows how loud she can do that. A bit loud. You're a bit loud with your fingers. It's definitely an attention grabber, so I can only see it as invaluable to a mute. She might have practiced it because of that. All of it, huh? That's too harsh. I always thought this is the real test. To train them is my course anyways. Leaving a lasting impression is important. Just like the first impression is just as important. It's why I don't build sandcastles so they crumble when you leave. Well then build a sandcastle that's not near water then, so that the tide can never get to it. Although you could say that one day the earth will just be underwater. Anyways, maybe, but if I see an especially neat one I still think it's impressive. I'll say it's impressive. I kind of admire you, so to me it wasn't for nothing. She takes her glasses if she wants to take them off, immediately smiling wearily. Sorry. I was careless and something selfish slipped out. I always wanted to stand at the top. It didn't matter what it was, as long as I was the best at it, I understood it completely and made it my own. Like when you hear a song and dream of being a musician, or see a plane and wish you could be a pilot. Have you ever had a dream like that? Yeah, I've had a dream. We've had many dreams. The first time I played soccer, I'd wonder if maybe I could ever get good enough to wow people. That was just a fantasy. It's improbable, not impossible, though. As soon as I saw the gap between me and people with real talent, I put those dreams behind me. Well, with my heart the way it is, I can't play soccer anymore anyway. Do you used to have dreams like that? No, they're unrealistic. I realized it very quickly, but there's always someone better. There's always going to be a bigger fish out there. A nostalgic expression crosses her face. She looks oddly mature right now, as if the days of competing vigorously against others for supremacy are long behind her. Of course, I know that nothing could be further from the truth. Just last week she wanted to see which one of us could blow the biggest bubble with a piece of gum. It could be that she was even worse when she was younger. A terrifying thought. I like that. That there was always someone better. When someone greater than me would appear, I get so excited. I want to challenge them. Even though in the end, they would usually turn out to be better, and I would be left in awe. There are some people on a different level completely. After a while, I get jealous. I got jealous. I want something like that for myself. Is that what the student council is? The thing just for you? No. Even though it feels like that, sometimes. That wasn't why I decided to do it. There is another story entirely. But I like being student council president. Even if the work is hard and I'm always biting off more than I can chew, that is what keeps it exciting. People at the top shouldn't be able to be comfortable all the time anyway. You sound like a farmer. Although we wouldn't sue her, Shizune would look cute in overalls and a straw hat. Ah. So, if that wasn't the reason, why did you run for the job? I didn't, but afterwards I decided to stick with it anyway. I wanted to be the student council president because the old student council was stupid. And I wanted to steer people up so that they would be able to say, that was interesting, today was interesting, that kind of thing. Memorable experiences. I'm happy because I think we succeeded. You and Misha and me. I have a selfish desire too, though. At first I thought it was something I thought would only be a nice bonus, but I've gotten greedy. That is why it would make me happy if the elections go smoothly. It would be the only way that I could see that my wish was granted. What is it then? It's a secret. Yeah, it's not going to be prized out of her that easily. Sensing that I might not be ready to let such a weak dodge slide by so easily, Shizune quickly waves down any attempt at a follow-up. Embarrassment coloring her face. It's something she wants to keep to herself only because it's too silly to do otherwise. I start to feel a pain of hunger and check my watch. It's later than it looks. Too early for dinner. Do you have any food? Kind of food in your desk? For a second it looks like the question confused her, but she recovers quickly. Desks are for supplies. Food is supplies. You should have eaten lunch. I didn't think it would be a problem if I didn't. If I was working, I wouldn't have to think about it. I'll be too busy to be hungry. She puts her hand up to her mouth in a poor attempt to conceal a laugh, and tries to hide it further by pretending to use it to push her glasses further up the bridge of her nose. I guess you're not, since you already ate. I'm not good enough to sign the appropriate words, so I settle for pointing at the stack of Chinese food containers leaning precariously out of the top of a trash can. Those are from yesterday. Then we're both hungry. Let's get something to eat. Not from the cafeteria, there wasn't anything good at lunch, so I really doubt there would be anything good left over. Order something? Ordering out 2 days in a row is unnatural, only in cases of emergency. That is my personal policy. This is why she should think of putting some snacks on her desk. It'll be an easier way of dealing with these kind of emergencies. I want to tell her, but signing out how hungry I'm like 5 times has made me too tired to be a smartass. The temptation is really great though. Hi. Misha's distinctive up and down voice sounds muffled through the door. She bursts in a second later. Hello. You two. Hi Chan, you're here too. Two? How'd you know there was already somebody in here? If it opens, someone is inside. Am I interrupting? Nah, Shizune shakes her head. Great, that's really great. But I was sure I would be. Is that a break? I thought so too, but it turns out everything student council related is over. For now. Is that why you're here? Yeah, that's right, Hi-chan. Sorry to disappoint you. We were just discussing whether or not to order out for dinner. But it turns out that it's against protocol to order twice. That sounds fun. Shizune has been very fun about it though. She says that she can't order food 2 days in a row. Are you hungry too? Because if you are, we could outvote her. That sounds fun. Hi-chan. And I am a little hungry. I thought you'd say it sounds like muttony. Shizune pinches the frame of her glasses, clearly thinking it does seem like muttony, but being outvoted by a clear 2-1 margin, there's nothing she can do. Misha already has her phone out, is awfully garish. Shai-chan, you promised that we would have a student council thing just for us, right? Right? This can be it. Shizune only shakes her head. The last party she will be able to attend as Yamako's student council president is too special for her to put the label on our spur-of-the-moment early dinner. Even though I'm sure the real thing would be just like this, a meal like any other, with the 3 of us. After we finish eating and clean up, I say goodbye to them and head to my dorm. Although I don't feel particularly tired, I think I'll just go straight to sleep tonight. If I were back home, my mum would nag me not to go to bed right after eating. But what she doesn't know won't hurt her. Damn. You're a sly one. I take a look at the clock as soon as I get in and realise that it's a lot later than I thought. It also feels a bit silly checking the clock when I have a phone and a wristwatch. I take off my watch and hold it in one hand while holding my phone in the other. It makes me feel powerful and stupid. Kenji, is that you? I try unsuccessfully to go to sleep, and I'm glad when someone interrupts me by knocking on my door only after a few minutes. I figured it couldn't be anyone but Kenji, which is why I'm surprised that it ends up being Misha. Okay. Hi-chan. You don't look happy to see me. No, I'm just kind of surprised. Did Shizune remember something that she wants me to do after all? It's late, but whatever. I guess it's good that I didn't change. No, I just thought I'd follow you back. For fun? No, of course not. It's because she wants to talk. It must be about something important, and she doesn't want Shizune to know about. Do you want to come in? Yeah, thanks, Hi-chan. And she walks in and immediately takes a seat in the chair, the natural thing to do, but I expect her to sit on the bed. Hi-chan. Misha frowns harshly, arms folded over her chest, like she's trying to play a grim interrogator. All that's missing is the mustache and the dangling, flingering light bulb on a string. Don't you mean the monocule? Did you make Sai-chan sad? No, what do you mean? When I went to the office today, Sai-chan couldn't hear me coming. That's why when I opened the door, I saw a really confusing expression on her face. Sai-chan looked happy and sad, and I wanted to know why. Well, it wasn't because of me, I didn't even see it. I think she's depressed that she won't be student council president anymore in a few months. When I asked Sai-chan about that, she said it was okay. That's meaningless. Shizune would say that, but it's ridiculous to think that she would let it go that easily. I mean, there are times when she'll want to fight me over the last apple, or chocolate milk, or whatever, and that is stuff that doesn't even matter. Chocolate milk is important. No, milk is important, not the chocolate part. Okay, it is, don't get mad, but not as much as student council is to her. She wouldn't just wave it off so easily. You're right. I thought that this was supposed to be an interrogation. It appears Misha has already forgotten about it. But I don't want Sai-chan to lie to me to make me feel better. Most people don't know how serious Sai-chan is and think she's just putting on a show. I'm happy you understand it, Hi-chan. It's obvious, especially with how she talked about it today. Misha leans in closer with interest, resting her head on her palms. Really? What did she say? They are close enough that I don't think much of how she is praying. Why she joined the student council? Sort of. She started, but then decided that some stuff should just say classified, and signed, it's a secret. So I guess that's what she told me. It's a secret. What if someone tells you that they have a secret? You can sort of call that a secret by itself, Hi-chan. Just like how, according to you, luck is a skill? It can be. It's not a skill. Luck is for anyone and everyone, but also against anyone and everyone. Be careful, not so loud. Why, Hai-chan? You're going to wake up half the people in the building. On top of that, dorms aren't correct. Hai-chan, you think it's something dirty? Stop being weird. If you are, it's okay, I think. Hearing that makes me realise how easy it's been for me to talk to Misha all this time, but I would be able to go this long without feeling the need to be on guard. This is the first time I have. I feel sad, Hai-chan. It's funny, the happier Sai-chan gets, the more depressed I feel. Even though I should be happy for Sai-chan, I still am, but I can't talk about my problems with her. Why not? Just like Sai-chan can't talk about her problems to me, it's the same thing, Hai-chan. If we have that kind of problem, then I'm not sure anymore what I should do. I wonder if I'm a bad friend. Misha gets up and quickly drops herself on the bed until we're sitting only a few inches apart. Just a couple of seconds later, she pushes her head forward and gives me a light kiss. It missed my lips, more due to bad aim on her part because of me. What are you doing? Although it's just a formality, I'd be stupid to not know what she is getting at. It just seems that it seems so unlikely that I'm hoping there will be some way that I don't have to deal with it. Now she decides to be shy and giggles, embarrassed. Do you like me, Hai-chan? Yeah. Her head is buried in my chest, for goodness sakes. It feels like she's talking into my scar. She might be able to feel it brushing against her cheek. I tried too hard to hide it from both of them before. It seems like such a dumb thing to have worried so much about in retrospect. Please comfort me, Hai-chan. Just for today. I am on the fence with this kind of decision because, for goodness sakes, because it's like, what does this comfort entail? What does this comfort entail? As much as I pretend to protest, I've allowed things to come to this point, even though I knew so far ahead of when she actually came out with it that this was what she was getting at. At the very least, I was okay with this outcome. If I need any more proof, it's simple. I still haven't turned her away. I could have at any point, and it was wrong of me not to do it sooner, but now, not doing so is something beyond simple carelessness. Misha takes my silence in agreement and screws herself against me tightly as if she is trying to gam. My arms are enveloped by the softness of her skin, but warmth of her body are rolled over and reflex end up on top of her. She looks at me as if expecting me to take the lead and closed her eyes nervously the second I return her gaze. I guess I have no choice and I clumsily begin trying. Okay. More melons. Oh, for goodness sakes. I wonder if Shizune is going to just drop by at any point, because that would be bad, wouldn't it? Oh dear. And it doesn't. Okay. The fading was a bit weird there, but okay. Shizune's going to find out at some point. The following morning, I wake up thinking that most of my time is going to be spent trying to avoid Shizune and Misha. What happened last night still makes me feel uneasy. I thought that sleeping on it would help alleviate that feeling. I feel like an idiot for believing it would be easy. I think about whether or not Misha might feel the same way. If so, she probably wouldn't show up to school today, so I consider doing the same, but it would be pretty suspicious, and staying inside all day in fear doesn't appeal to me. It never really has. Like I thought, Misha isn't in class this morning. Shizune is, but today is a busier day than most, as she gives all her concentration on her classwork, and that means there's little idle time for her to start up a conversation with me. It's strange that I should be running from the thought of having to talk to Shizune after spending so much time trying to do that, but I can't think of any other way I should feel I had with her best friend. If I feel this way about it, I wonder how Misha must feel. Just as regretful. When she came on to me, she was more depressed and okay. I can only imagine how much worse it would be now. Think about it like that. I want to see her again, but only half-heartedly. The other half of me is still terrified, even though I hate to use that word. It makes me feel ashamed, but I'm sure it's the only way to describe myself right now. It's not a good feeling. A mixed feeling of resentment and regret. I spend the next couple of periods in the library, not in the mood to sit in classes for the rest of the day, but unwilling to walk back to the dorms. While I'm lazily flipping through the pages of an uninteresting historical fiction novel, Shizune drops herself into the chair across from me, pouting. I think it's sort of pointless to come to school and then skip every class. Sorry. At least tell everyone that you're sick. I'm just not feeling it today. Yesterday I was fine though. Tomorrow I'll probably be fine. Taking a sick day in the middle of a week is just too suspicious. That 24-hour flu thing or whatever won't fly. It's not suspicious. It is. I turn back to my book, but Shizune gently pulls it down in contrast with her expression, which straddles a line between concern and anger. Is something wrong? What? Is something bothering you? Because you're acting a little suspicious today, in a different way. If there is, just tell me. Well, I'll be mad. I'm not good at reading people. What a ridiculous thing to say after picking up my mood so easily. She is only half kidding, but there is some truth in it. After all, she can't hear tone, and has to rely on reading to communicate with others. It's as if you could only ever have connections with someone through text messages. It has to mess with you in some way. It's probably why she stares so intently at people in order to gauge their reaction. Or maybe it's why she pushes people so hard to get them to react. I've thought about it before, but it's too hard to say for sure what Shizune's exact motivations are for anything. So I wonder how much of that was a joke. Sometimes it's easy to tell. This time, it isn't. Assume it wasn't a joke. I can't tell her anyway, because it's sign language. There's enough time to collect myself and lie effectively. I have a feeling this is not going to end well. That's a lie. I've just been thinking a lot about Student Council's future lately. I believe Misha is doing the same. Well, in her own way. So am I, but she isn't here today. I wish she would have let me know something, because I might need her help later today. Yours too, unless you're busy. I'm not busy. Thank you. I feel like I'm losing a lot of people close to me lately. I can't think of a good way to respond to that. Something reassuring and confident. Telling her not to worry. I'm here for you. I'm not one of those people. Then who is? And it seems so forced. I manage to wave with my hand that seems extremely courteous as soon as I do it. You shouldn't feel that way. I might be just a little sick, not enough to go through the trouble of making it official. It's just easier for me this way. It's the wrong way. I heard the hard way and the right way are usually the same thing. So it's not a big stretch to say that the opposite is true. Well, fine, if you say you're alright, that's good enough for me. Wait. You asked me, so I'm turning it around. Is everything okay with you? Yes. She sighs without a moment's hesitation. After that, Shizune waits to see if I'm going to follow up on it. And alas, it doesn't. I don't, and she leaves. I feel like an idiot for not going further, even though I think it's better if I didn't. I've been in the library for quite a while and decided to go up to the roof for a change of pace. A fresh breeze hits me the second I open the door. This is really my favourite area of the school, I think. Then I see that I'm not the only one here. I can see a girl with bubblegum pink hair in front of me. Her back is to me, but I don't have to see her face to know who it is. I'm sure Misha is the only person in the world with hair like that. I get a feeling that I've stumbled on her at a bad moment. She obviously wants to be alone, and I wonder if she hasn't noticed my presence. If so, I'll leave right now. But she has, and turns to face me. Oh, hi, Chan. I thought someone was behind me, but I didn't think it was going to be you. This time you surprised me, even though I didn't put my hand over your face, for goodness sakes, Misha. If she's referring to her habit of sneaking up behind me and asking me to guess who it is, I've never really been surprised by that. I'm surprised too, but this is good. I had something that I wanted to talk to you about anyway. Not bad. What's going on between you and Shizune? She won't tell me, so I'm asking you. Because you're easy to get an answer out of. There's a confliction going on here. Since we joined, there's been conflict between these two. Conflict of affection for the third person to join the student council. Since the same sign language that gives me the leeway to lie to her gives her a cushion against my questions, so that she can more easily brush them off. When she hesitates, I push her harder. Give me an honest answer, please. It's complicated, Hai-chan. It's because of something that happened a long time ago. I thought I could just forget about it, but it's really hard. So that and graduation coming up made me want to spend more time with Sai-chan. But Sai-chan is always busy now, so we've been fighting, but I'm tired of it now. Because I like Sai-chan. So do I. No, I know you like her, Hai-chan. I mean, but I like Sai-chan in the same way. Ouch. You want her to be your girlfriend. Misha closed her eyes like a condemned criminal confessing the last of their sins in front of the executioner. It only makes it harder for me to think of a response, and I'll have to give one. I see. I never knew. I didn't really want to come to the school, Hai-chan, but it sounded interesting. And even if everyone hated me, at least it felt like they would leave me alone. I was learning sign language but wasn't very good at it. Sai-chan was trying to get people to join the student council because it was all her and Lily. Then she came up to me. I couldn't understand it at all. But Sai-chan wouldn't use her pen and paper. She knew that I was taking sign language classes. I was exposed quickly. I didn't know any. That only made me try harder, and I hated Sai-chan and thought she was making fun of me. That wasn't the reason though. So I slowly fell in love with Sai-chan, and I told her that I loved her. It was in the student council room, you know, when it was just the two of us. I had these fantasies of Sai-chan staying alone in the office, trying to put everything together all by herself. It seemed so lonely to me, and so sad. I think I wanted to be that way. That way, I could be there for Sai-chan, and maybe Sai-chan would like me, even though there was no reason for me to believe it. I did anyway. I wanted it to be true, so I was okay with letting myself believe it, even though I think I knew. That day was really beautiful too. Hai-chan, we were done with everything, and I was looking out through the window. Even through the window, the light was so warm. That hair looks blonde. Was your original colour blonde rather than pink? I want to stay like that forever, next to Sai-chan. But then I looked at Sai-chan, and she had her back to the window and was still working on something, blocking out the rest of the world. The light was on her shoulders, like when I would put a blanket on my shoulders as a little kid. Misha stops for a second as if trying to hold on to the image of Shizune in her mind. Sai-chan looked. It was like Sai-chan looked in a way that made me want to be with her, but it felt like it would be hard for that to happen. That was a really long time ago. My hair was different back then too, a little messy. I cut it because Sai-chan was always talking about it. Anyway, I told her. Right then and there I confessed. I was rejected. So I thought that was it, Hai-chan, but Sai-chan was always trying to find me, and I hated Sai-chan again for it. And when I asked her why she was doing it, it was because I was her friend. Her cheeks have a hint of red in them. I wonder how much experience she has had with crying, that she can keep herself from doing it so well. If she didn't pause to wipe her eyes, I might never have noticed. Having Sai-chan said that made me happy but also sad. Even though she never meant to hurt me, it still hurts even now. Sai-chan has a way of manipulating me. That's a bit of an understatement. Hai-chan, sometimes she wants to, and sometimes she doesn't really, but it happens anyway. And sometimes I'm just not sure exactly which one it is, and I feel doubt. I just wish that Sai-chan liked me instead of you. It made me wonder if I was starting to hate you and Sai-chan. Just a little. I didn't like that. So you were thinking maybe it would be better if I weren't here at all? She looks confused. Before it's never crossed her mind. That's not it, Hai-chan. I've thought about it a lot these last few days, and I don't want to hate anyone. You're Sai-chan. It's so stupid I've ever felt like that, isn't it, Hai-chan? I don't want to think about that kind of stuff ever again. Your head doesn't want to. but your heart does. And missing people and being apart from them. I'm tired of it and don't want to think about it anymore. I already did though, so I'm still really the worst kind of person. I wasn't thinking that it would be better if Haichan had never come to this school. I was thinking, wouldn't it be better? Don't ever say that about yourself. Don't ever feel like you are that kind of person that people would think that it would be better off if you were never here. You are that happy, bouncy individual that makes others smile with your energy, with your enthusiasm. Your smile is contagious. Your laugh is refreshing. After all, I've even done something really terrible now. What have you done then? Misha pressed herself harder against the fence at her back, as if hoping to slip right through it. Don't be stupid. I'm surprised by the tone of my voice. Sorry? I realized I hate it when I'm left feeling regretful over anything. Even so, it's possible for me to end up regretting something. Yesterday I did a stupid thing. That's probably part of the reason why I'm here right now, so I could figure out if I could maybe make it right somehow. But how can you do that? Do you ever feel that way? You said you've done some terrible things. You can try fixing them. Some things are irreparable. Haichan, isn't that... I know that she's thinking I'm saying this more for me than for her. No, it's not. I'm just thinking that killing yourself is the biggest regret a person could end up with. Haichan, you're so dramatic. Whether she was serious, I'll never know. I don't try to find out, as she lets out a sigh and closes her eyes as if going to sleep. I feel that the dangerous mood I was picking up from her has passed. Shizune. The door behind us opens, with sound only barely able to be heard over the ambient breeze. I knew it. I've been looking everywhere for you two. Is this some secret meeting? She walks over to us, leaning against the fence next to Misha as if she needs to stop and catch her breath before pushing herself off it and continuing. I'm bored sitting in the student council room every day now, without either of you ever coming by. Taking some time off is fine, but this is just too much. Normally Misha and I would be jokingly making excuses for ourselves at this point. This time there's only silence. Shizune, always expecting resistance, is thrown off balance by the lack of it. Something is going on. A few seconds pass in uneasy silence, which Shizune breaks with an ear-shattering snap of her fingers, smiling as if to say, Eureka! Let's go do something together. Like what? Anything. We should go to the student council room first and then figure it out from there. Okay. That seems like a trick to get us to do work instead. Very funny. It's not a trick, I promise. It'll be something fun. Misha contrasts the genial smile on Shizune's face with a lonely expression of her own. If Misha is really jealous of me for stealing Shizune away from her, then it'd only make it worse if all three of us were together. I imagine it'd be like rubbing salt in an open wound, so I get the idea to let them spend time together. I'm not so idealistic, but I think a single afternoon to themselves will solve everything. But it might help. It seems like the better option than going with them, because my presence definitely wouldn't help at all. You two can go have fun then. I'm going to go to bed early. Are you sure? It's still past lunch. It's barely past lunch. I told you I don't feel too good today. I think I'm coming down with something. I thought you said excuses like that won't work. She has me there. It's okay, but refusing someone's invitation is rude. I expect you to make it up to me. Shishi turns around and smiles at Misha and starts saying something that I can't see. I assume it's along the lines of, it looks like it's just going to be the two of us. That's good. That will not be the end of it, unfortunately. Chapter 4. And this will be a smile? I mean, a small version of oneself to my other self. What is going on now? Only a day later, the weekend has already arrived. I drop a heavy stack of books, one that was overdue for a bit, on the librarian's desk. Not meaning to slam them, but they weigh so much that it happens anyways. Hello. Yuko bolts out of her chair with enough force to dislodge her glasses. She barely holds onto them. Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm here to return all those books I was supposed to. That's great, but I wish you brought them back sooner. It wouldn't be a problem if the library had more copies of everything, but it doesn't. And they act like that's my fault. They? Other students, they can be, pretty pushy. Sorry, it just kind of slipped my mind. It's been a pretty rough couple of days for me. I suppose you don't want to talk about it. Yuko meekly turns to the task of logging all the books I brought back as returned, treated them with extra care and precision like she's a bomb disposal technician rather than a librarian. Over the past couple of days I've been thinking about something Misha said, of course. I'd thought about everything she said, but one thing in particular keeps coming back. She talked about how she didn't want to miss people or think about being apart from them anymore. When I recall those words, they stopped me cold, like a sharp slap across the cheek. In just a few months we'll be graduating. Misha and Shizune were nearly inseparable, but after graduation we might never see each other again. I wonder if that thought is what started all of this. If Misha were to try and talk to Shizune about it, Shizune likely wouldn't think about it at all. It would sadden her, and for that reason she would try and toss it away. For someone like Shizune who is so quick to suppress her worries, it would be easy. Misha turned out to be more sensitive than she seemed. It would have crushed her. Even more so because Shizune's reaction could come off as pretty cold. I don't know if that's how Shizune handled it, but it seems likely, and I can understand why she would act that way. I can also understand why Misha would be troubled by the thought of drifting away from someone who is such an important part of her. I never thought about graduation till that moment. Then I began to think things like, has it really only been less than a year? I started thinking of everyone I've met, not only Shizune and Misha, but everyone. They were fond thoughts. Then I thought of losing them. Suddenly I could understand Misha's anxieties. It could be nice to talk to someone about it. Actually, I kind of want to. With whom? I can sense an obvious tinge of apprehension in her voice. With you. Really? Are you sure? Why me? Because you're an adult. That's it. That's... Wincing, she fidgets a little in her seat, trying to get comfortable in a pretty uncomfortable looking way. I guess this means she's okay with it. Is it being hard? Being an adult? Yes. I don't think I'm that old though. It's surprising that students now, like Shizune and you, wear stuff like perfumes or colingri. I never did. I still don't use them. By the way, you're not wearing your grape colingri today. It wasn't working out for me. Oh, that's good. I thought the same thing. Sorry. Yuko looks generally sorry and I feel a pain of guilt. I smile despite myself. A tiny lie like that could come back to bite me in the butt, years down the line. For Misha, trying to see how she felt in order to put on a happy face for Shizune for so long must have been crushing. Someone I know brought up that we're going to be graduating, and I realise I've never thought about it before. I feel stupid I could go so long and never think about these things. I've met a lot of great people, and I've never thought about what it's going to be like to graduate and maybe never see them again. That's why we exchange phone numbers, fools, so that we can get in contact with one another, stuff like that. Although with Shizune it'll just be texts. Or video calls, actually. There are still ways you can keep in touch. Yeah, I guess. I feel childish. I know everyone is going through the same motion. The same thing. Probably. I bet you hear this kind of problem a lot. No, I haven't been working here that long. I'm worried about the same thing when I graduate from high school. I didn't go to school here, though I also miss my friends, and I wish I kept in touch with them better. I should have tried harder. Yuko really isn't helping me feel better, and she claims up quickly when she sees it on my face. I don't want to look back and have these same regrets. I wonder if Shizune ever thinks about that kind of stuff, because she goes on sometimes about how she doesn't want to live with any regrets. Wow, that sounds impossible to me. Indeed it is. There's no such thing as a life without regrets. I'm not, only halfway wanting to agree. Even so, I think that is kind of admirable too. Kind of brave, don't you think so? Brave is a new way to put it. Iko shakes her head instinctively. It's true though, and also kind of intimidating. Geez, you shouldn't be intimidated by high schoolers. I'll try. She turns away to start folding a sticky note over and over. Pretty idle behaviour for a university student, but more importantly, I wonder if I said the wrong thing to her. Being around Shizune for so long, I can't stop breathing as much as I can into every moment of silence. If Yuko were the type of person who didn't get intimidated by high schoolers, it probably wouldn't be so easy to talk to her. It's all too easy to want to shed some negative quality of yours. When I think of everyone I know, it's those qualities I like the best. I don't think I really regret it. I thought as long as I could remember the good times, that was enough. I don't know. Sorry. I noticed a couple of students starting to trickle into the library and decide that my time was up. No, that was helpful. I feel like two of my friends are fighting because one of them is taking the fact that we might not see each other again after we graduate really hard, and the other is probably being stoic about it, which only makes it worse. I don't get how I'm supposed to handle this kind of situation. It doesn't seem like the kind of problem where I'll have to end up taking a side, but it could turn out that way, and then I have no idea what I'm going to do. Well, in this case, you've selected both sides, mate. You should tell them they shouldn't fight. I know, fighting is bad. It's not Shizune and Misha, by the way. Okay, I wasn't really thinking that, though. How embarrassing even though I knew it would be. I still feel my cheeks redden, and even so, I still said something so transparent and blatantly a lie, but it could be that sometimes that is the right way. Do you have any books about people who have to make hard decisions? We have a lot of self-help books. It's funny that I can find that surprising, because I wouldn't have only a few months ago. I mean about, not 4, but aren't many, right? Yeah, not many, I mean. Though I feel a bit apprehensive about it, I want to talk to Shizune. I don't understand why I feel nervous about it, and that disgusts me a little. It also motivates me to look for her, right then and there, although I don't have to look very hard. She's in the student council room as always. Worryingly, Misha isn't with her. When Shizune notices me and looks up from her paperwork, the first thing I ask is where she is. You don't know. There is so much uncertainty in her answer, but I can't let her go just like that. She's missing a lot of school. Are you the attendance police? That's really strange coming from the student council president. Shizune hides a laugh behind her cupped hand, and I start to think that I might be worrying for nothing. But then her laughter slowly fades away to a more serious and pensive expression. You're right. Yesterday, I catch the hint of a knowing smile on her face when she sees my poorly hidden panic at the word. Despite her best efforts, she can't help being satisfied in electing surprise from everyone else to be at the very end. Even then, I can see that she has bigger concerns from how quickly her smile vanishes. Before either of you noticed me, I saw what you were saying. I'm not stupid. If I hadn't, I could still see through Misha while we were walking back. Even if she hadn't told me everything later, she did make a big deal out of it. But anyway, you look at it. It's my fault, isn't it? What did she tell you? Shizune winces at the question. Though it's clear she's been expecting it, she follows it up with a very grand gesture. A lot. Like, that I can be selfish and confusing. I try too hard to bring people around me and then push them away. I didn't know what I should do. I thought she was right to mention all of those things, so I just agreed with her. But that only made things worse. If you just agree with someone, then that will make things worse because you're both different people at the end of the day, and therefore you will have things that you have in common and things that you don't agree on, but you can still be friends because that's what friends do. I don't understand. Adjusting her glasses, she looks pretty tired. I hope it isn't because she's been busy avoiding Misha, but I can't help considering the possibility, seeing where this conversation is going. It's true, even the student council being this small, and us always being swamped with work, is my fault. I might have even ended up driving a lot of people off and away from student council acting like that. Shizune wags her finger mischievously, acknowledging that might is an understatement. Is. However, from how weirdly she does it, it's obvious the humour is only to put me at ease, and therefore not genuine. Like Liddy, for instance. She was the first person to join when I started trying to recruit people again after everyone else left, because they couldn't stand me, I guess. We managed to put together the last festival and even ran a booth together at the last minute. But I didn't like her because I thought she was selfish, always holding us up in order to tend to one friend of hers or another, and leaving Misha and me alone to sort out things involving the whole school by ourselves. If there were any problems she was going through, she would leave us high and dry when she panicked over it and wouldn't come back until it was solved. She would focus on it 100% and be too preoccupied to focus on any student council work. That was the worst to me, that she could be so nice and still take so many people for granted. Why even join the student council then? It seems so short-sighted and selfish, don't you think? You dare say that about the best one in this game. But it's actually me who's that way. Like Misha said, always trying to pull people close to me and then shutting them out. That's how I've treated her, which makes me a bad friend, and it feels like I did the same thing to you, Ben. So I guess I'm a bad girlfriend too, even if Misha says that you might as well replace her. Gosh. I'm angry that I screwed things up enough for it to get this out of hand. All I wanted was to... She paused to look for the right words, tensing her fingers in concentration. Think of the right words to say. Make people happy, I think. Even though it seems like a simple way to put it, sometimes the most simple ways of putting it is the most effective ways, because you get across to as many people as possible, rather than trying to put out a 100-page thesis of what you want with your emotions. You just put it in a few simple words, and that's it. As she rests her head against her hand, Shizune's bangs fall delicately across her eyes, hidden behind those polished glasses reflecting just the tiniest bit of light. It might be wrong to think so, but right now, she seems especially beautiful, like a more complete person. It feels like this is my first chance to respond to her outpouring of emotions, replacing Misha as Shizune's interpreter. Misha must be joking. It took all my energy to keep up with her just now, her signing filled with gestures I've never seen before. Likely their habits picked up from Misha and developed from years of them being together. I could never replace someone so close to her. I like you because I like you, not because I got tricked into it by you. Despite how hard she tried anyway, I continued to stare back into her eyes, as sharp as ever. The first time I saw them, they had seemed a bit intimidating to me, like the eyes of a predator. That hasn't changed, which I find reassuring. I still want to make everyone happy. It's impossible to make 100% of people happy. Started with Misha? She looks a bit annoyed that I would imply she would start with anyone else, and smiles confidently, as though her friend's sadness is a physical opponent she can just strangle into submission. Of course, obviously, naturally. Taking off her glass, she leans back in the chair and lets out a sigh. It's the first time I've seen her without them on, but I don't get a good look before she slips them back on. But I'm too tired to start today. First thing tomorrow. Do you want to help? Yeah. And I have other student council stuff you could help me with while you're at it. Although it turns out that there isn't much of a work at all. Where is this going to go? Because this feels like a bad route. Like, we should have just chosen to ignore Misha if we really are Shizune's boyfriend. Knocking on my door. Who is it at this hour? There's no school today, so I expect to be able to sleep in late. Unfortunately, I'm awake by someone mercilessly pounding on my door at 8 in the morning. Who else could it be other than Shizune or Misha? Or Kenji. At first I think it could be Kenji, but when my shouts of annoyance go unanswered, I realise it's Shizune. Hello, she immediately backs away from the door when I open it, quickly concealing something behind her back. Kind of ominous. What's this? Is it a surprise? I don't realise surprises. The displeased expression on her face says that she wants me to stop being such a wet blanket, but she's too busy fumbling with what's behind her back to sign it. It must be frustrating for her, because seconds later she swings the object out, proudly and also a little dangerously. Ta-da! A picnic basket! We can have lunch together, the three of us! It's not really a basket, it looks more like a plastic bag. Taking a quick look inside, I can see that most of the food inside is also store-bought, not homemade. Some items still have price stickers on. There's a very diverse selection here, though. Even a tiny tin of caviar. I'm slowly becoming more impressed with this lunch. I pick a grape out of there and pop it in my mouth. Don't just take things like that. I spent all night perfecting this final weapon. Final weapon, yeah, right. Shizune places it down on the ground to free her hands. It immediately starts playfully tapping it between her feet like a soccer ball. Definitely not what you should do to anything you're going to call a final weapon. All part of my get Misha stop being so depressed plan. I stayed up all last night working on it. When we tried to order in last time, Misha barely got anything and used it as an excuse to leave early. I won't let her get off the hook so easily this time. The food is already here, she'll have to sit down and eat with us. It's a perfect bait. Doesn't everything look irresistible? I try to make it myself, but I don't know how to make it look all fancy, so I end up buying everything. Still looks delicious, doesn't it? You should be. She's very perky today, juiced up on the thought of cheering Misha up, although it's odd to see her so happy about it. I know that she's just as unsure now as she was yesterday. The only thing that has changed is that by viewing it as another sort of challenge for herself, she could put her worries aside and throw herself into it recklessly. It has worked well enough for Shizune so far. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the only way she knows how to live. It's a little early though. It's already 8 in the morning, that's late! Even Misha gets up at 8 in the morning, she goes to bed at 7 PM, but that is important. It's very important. Shizune ignores me, gagging my hands by taking hers instead of a more proper rebuttal. The way she lingers against me a moment longer than expected feels really comforting. The point is, she's awake right now, walking around somewhere. Let's go find her. She sprints out the door impatient, and her gusto as she drags me along looking for Misha makes me feel more like I'm following a hunt on a safari than looking for a mutual friend. We don't have to look very hard. Even cropped short, her pink hair stands out. The fact that she's just meandering around the grounds out in the open makes it even easier. Now I'm sounding like a safari hunt. Misha! Huh? We were just looking for you. It's a good day for a picnic. You should join us. We even have caviar. Not sturgeon, of course, but really tasty. Caviar? Surgeon? No, not surgeon. Apparently find it annoying to have to explain anything at length with only one hand. Shizune gives up quickly. Fish eggs. What? It tastes good. Sorry, Saichan, I think I'll pass for today. When Misha starts to walk away, Shizune holds the bag out towards me, needing me to take it so that her hands can be free. As soon as it's out of her hand, she darts in front of Misha, cutting her off. I made so much food, though. Sorry, I'm just not hungry right now. When are you going to be hungry then? Shai-chan, that's impossible to know. You can guess. The tension between them infuriates Shizune, and she's trying to deal with it by trying to tear through it, but that approach isn't going to work. I'd thought and hoped that Misha had gotten herself together, but I guess she was just cut too deep by what happened. In that case, it's really out of anyone's hands. I believe that Shizune might understand that, on some level. If she didn't, she wouldn't have any doubts at all. Because she can't speak though, I've learned to notice her hesitation. It's very clear she might as well be screaming. Misha waves her hands in front of her, not wanting to continue the discussion any further, and quickly slips away. Shizune fumes silently, reluctant to let her go, but having no way to keep her here. As Misha's back grows smaller in the distance, I wonder where she's heading off to. Is Shizune wondering the same thing as she bites her lip in frustration? I want to touch her reassuring her shoulder, but I stop myself not knowing if it's the right thing to do. Not because she looks fragile, vulnerable, or sad, it's the opposite. After a while, her expression biles no emotion at all, only contemplation. Suddenly, she whirls around. Now all this food is going to go to waste. Yeah, that makes me mad. Although it's obvious, Shizune is more hurt than mad. The bag dangling from my hand feels like it's filled with lead. Aha, let's use it then. Huh? Where do you want to go? I don't know. The roof? It's my favourite spot. A weary smile appears on her face, disappearing just as quickly. On the roof, I immediately crack open the caviar. Ignoring a derisive look from Shizune all the while, I end up putting it down immediately. Where are the toast points? I didn't make any. Like I told you, I bought everything. Not toast points, though. Why is that important? Anyway, they don't sell just toast points. That would be stupid. I bet they do. Maybe in stores we're exceptionally lazy, but not here. Why don't you use a tortilla chip? I don't know why. A tortilla chip is not the same. They're both triangles. Stop being such a princess. I didn't know there was a proper way to eat caviar. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. It's not the same thing at all. I can't be decadent like this. And anyway, how could she not know? She lives in a huge mansion. She only takes the opportunity to scoop half the tin onto a single chip in the meantime. Hey! I'm sure it didn't even taste good like that. There's too much food here for two people because we can't communicate with each other while we eat. Both Shizune and I have a lot of time to sit in silence and think about the fact that Misha, the person she set all of this up for, isn't here. It's annoying that she isn't here. I can't even enjoy my meal like this. I stare at a paper cup next to her, still full half full of juice. I thought you didn't want all this food to go to waste. I wanted Misha to be here too. That was the whole point. I wasn't able to accomplish what I wanted, so it doesn't taste good. You should eat it. Eat more. I want the fried things though. You keep eating them all, even though you say they don't taste good. Fried things are always delicious, but there's always an exception for them, really now. You'll get fat. I think you're being too aggressive. It's like I told you yesterday, I'm only trying to cheer her up. Yeah, but it seems like you're playing a military campaign. I'm only trying to take it seriously, like a military campaign. And this is the only way I know how to do it seriously. I feel so powerless, I hate it. I can't even yell at her too. Even if I want to, yelling is for serious occasions, right? Yeah. You should yell at Misha for me. You can tell that I want her to stop being so down. Even if she feels sad and alone, it's no reason to stay gloomy forever. Okay, that is literally the most dumbest response, because she can't yell. I already did. Over a game of dice. Over to be exact, I won 5 times. Only the 2 of them would take so much pride in winning games of pure chance. Then I tried to talk to her, but it didn't go so well, obviously. Well, so did I. I tried and failed. My goal has always been to do everything better, though. Yeah, your one-upmanship is really something. But I failed too. That's why I want your help. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do anymore. For someone like Shizune, who has only ever interacted with the world by locking horns with every obstacle in her path, understanding only goes so far. Indeed it does. I want to tell her that she doesn't have to worry, that she is great at cheering people up, because she managed to cheer me up my first week here. In retrospect, I must have looked like kind of a douche, being in such a sour mood from the moment I came here, even though I don't think I was being unreasonable. Even having months to digest it, find out that you have to have had a heart defect, like I did, is hard to deal with. I've had much less time to mull over suddenly being transferred to Yumaka on top of that. Spending the festival with Shizune really helped me out of a rut. I was happy. enough to forget that the entire time it had felt as though she were manipulating me. I understand now that I had allowed myself to be manipulated. Even though I felt like I was at the bottom of the world, I still wanted to have a normal life again. Are you starting to doubt Shizune now? I'm sure, because I enjoy what I have now. I think it must be the same for everyone, including Misha. Everyone wants someone there to pull them up, out of their self-pity. It's just that Misha always wanted Shizune to be that person, but because they can't be together, I think Misha feels that she can't accept Shizune's hand, and that frustrates Shizune. But if she could cheer up a stranger like me, then she'll die trying with Misha, okay? I can see in her eyes too, that she tries to treat it like any other problem in her life. Shizune can't do that with Misha's depression. Her thought processes are entirely different, in some ways more cheerful, in some ways more reckless, and frenetic. She cares that much more. I end up not saying anything, partially because sitting next to her like this, just the two of us, is pleasant enough in itself. I don't want to interrupt the moment with a question. And partially for a more cowardly reason. I've started to think they weren't, but I don't know if her actions that day might not have been an afterthought, or even a fluke, just a collection of coincidences. I don't know if that would change anything, but I'm comfortable thinking about it. The fence behind me trembles slightly, and I turn to see that it's because Shizune has fallen asleep leaning against it. Considering she was up all night, it's not surprising. Where does all that motivation come from? Not just in regards to Misha. I'm cynical, so it's hard for me to just accept that anyone can simply be that strong. My first thought was that maybe it's because she hates herself. It's very plausible. Leaning against her, I feel sad knowing that that might be the case. But it could be that we're similar in that we both want to be better people. Did she wake up in the end? One can only tell when time transpires by enough for us to find out. I don't know. We don't know. And the weather doesn't know as well. It seems like I ate too much yesterday because I woke up in the morning feeling just nauseous enough for it to be a problem. I really can't postpone going to town for shopping though. So despite wanting to roll over and sleep it away, I forced myself to get up and dress instead. Somewhere between buying toothpaste and a few other groceries, I end up walking it off. Then I feel hungry. After stopping for breakfast, it hits me how much time has gone by. I hadn't expected to be out this long at all. I'm not even sure if I bother to lock my door. I should really get back. What are you doing here? When I get back to the dorm, I see Hideaki standing in front of my room from the entrance. I can think of a few things more unexpected, and I can't help thinking I might have a heart attack just from a surprise. Fortunately, it doesn't happen. As soon as he sees me, he says hello in his usual detached way. I'm a little slow to reply to him, so he repeats the greeting without missing a beat. Hello. Is something wrong? I'm just surprised to see you here. Not as surprised as I could have been, since it's impossible to mistake him for anyone else. I recognize his weird clothes anywhere. Come to think of it, I've really surrounded myself with distinctive looking people lately. Hideaki's head lowers slightly to one side, a little too easily. Why? Isn't it unusual to see someone's family come to see them? Well, yeah, actually. So Hideaki isn't such a robot after all. In fact, it's almost as if he's more caught off guard by the fact that he even can be caught off guard, but he recovers quickly. Nevertheless, in that brief moment he looks his age, that uncomfortable side of us seems like the more honest, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of it. Not so much, though, that I'd go out of my way to pry. Only Shizune would be that zealous. Though my thoughts get so far is proof that she's rubbing off on me. I think you'd have a reason, that's all. There is one. See? Anyway, we could talk while we're looking for her. That's why you're here, right? Shizune is in the student council room. I was looking for you. We might take a trip soon. A family trip. Do you think she would want to come with us? Yeah, I don't know. She's kind of been on a warpath lately, with a lot of stuff. And once she's focused on something, she won't just drop it. I guess you would know that. Hideaki looks much more at ease walking around than I did my first week. So this isn't your first time here? Just throwing it out there, of course, completely ignoring the surrounding environment, could just run in the family. It'd explain why Hideaki seems so distant from Shizune. I get a feeling there's more to it than just her deafness. No, but this is the first time I could walk around so much. It is kind of weird here. I bumped into a person who told me women are not... That's Kenji. After I told him that I'm not a woman, he told me I was misleading and then accused me of being an assassin. I was warned that he was not only invincible but strong enough to probably destroy the building with a punch, or at least knock off the painting hanging in the hallway. By the way, that painting is actually screwed to the wall. Yeah, that's the guy from across the hall from me. He's not okay. I see. Oh, you left your door open. It was unlocked when I came here. I'm a little annoyed that Hideaki knows that. The only way he could is if he had opened my door, but the feeling passes. It doesn't matter. I have nothing to hide or steal. Your soccer ball is really nice. That's one of the things that doesn't matter. If you're a soccer player, a soccer ball is very important. I guess it is. The thought makes me smile. Very much so. I'm here because my father bought a new phone and he wanted to update Shizune in case she needs to call him. I thought that you should know too, since you're her boyfriend, aren't you? Yeah. Why? Just in case there's something wrong or she needs anything. It isn't what I meant, but I'll go along. Assuming that we're partners, how dare you? Even if she did, she probably wouldn't call. That is how she is. Well, if you know, coming all the way here for that though, he could have updated her via email. He does not like using email. Exactly, he's an old man. That's so old-fashioned. Don't tell me he still does business through regular email or something. Silence. Now it's my turn to feel awkward. Is Hideaki taking it literally, or did I hit the mark? Now I'm sure that what it really comes down to is that he does want to see his daughter and stay in contact with her. In the end, they are still family after all, even though they play at being at each other's throats. Oh dear, I was hoping to never see this man ever again, but alas, we are here. The door to the student council room is open. Hideaki and I walking on Jiro in mid-rant. He sees us, but decides it's not something worth stopping rambling at Shizune over. This is really shaking my faith in my previous assumption. When I was in the student council, our room was smaller, colder too, like working out of a meat locker. Not like you spoiled kids. What a waste, sitting here in your giant room doing nothing. Aren't there only 3 of you? That makes having so many desks only seem like an unnecessary display of mindless decadence. Appalling. You must use the desks you need. Not one more. It might be a part of your code, but it's not how the school operates, you old man. It may be odd of me to think so, but hearing only one half of the conversation is pretty strange. Also, that's some code. Now that I've arrived, he changes the subject and starts talking about the reason he's here. Hideaki and I are going on a trip. What are you doing? Does everyone who uses sign language mumble while they do it? No, but I'm just an amateur. It helps me think. It's kind of like force of habit. Just an amateur. Unbelievable. Fine. He turns back to Shizune just in time to catch her shaking her head from side to side. Are you sure he won't be coming along? She reiterates the gesture. Fine. Can you tell her to call me if she needs anything? Yes. I really think sending an email would be easier though. I'm not going to read emails on my phone if she won't speak. She can call Hideaki. I suppose if I have to be reached, you would have to call me, or that other girl would have to call me. Actually, all 3 of you can just call Hideaki. And with that, he swiftly turns and leaves, Hideaki trained behind him. A long trip for something that took 5 minutes. Neither of them can express their feelings very well. In Shizune's case, I have to question whether she would if she could. It explains a lot, but she doesn't seem unhappy with the arrangement. Even so, I wonder if she might be. When the door closes behind him, leaving Shizune and me by ourselves, she lets out a deep breath that seems to echo in the silence in the room. It's totally ridiculous asking me to go on a trip, but timing couldn't be worse. It overlaps student council elections, for one. Second, I haven't even cheered up Misha. If you consider that, It's annoying to even have anything else to think about. Yeah, but you might be too focused on all of that stuff right now. Shizune adjusts her glasses roughly. Completely, 100% right. The minute I decided I was going to cheer up Misha, everything else went on the back burner, I suppose. I think your dad might care about you more than he lets on. Really now. I know. So then, it could be a good idea. No. And then again, more firmly, as if for the both of us. No. After coming this far, I can't take a break. A vacation would be jarring. It would be like waking up in a different life. Yesterday was my vacation, so now we have to go all in. I'm sorry. It's just how I am. I immediately what Yuko said, that she found Shizune brave. In a kind way. I think I understand what she meant, and I have to agree. Even though it could also be called recklessness, and foolishness, and pointless stubbornness. I guess you could call it bravery too. However, I can see that there is a fundamental flaw in Shizune's thinking that I hadn't noticed until now. I'm sure that Shizune has reflected longer and more arduously than I could about where she messed up to create such a bad situation between her and Misha. However, as typical for her, she wouldn't let it hold her back and immediately set out to fix the problem. This completely ignores a large part of the problem, Misha herself. Moving from critical introspection to holding Misha up as part of a goal causes the person to get lost in the shuffle. Shizune has said a lot in the past few days, but nothing about how Misha feels. You just want to know what she has thought, not how she feels. Shizune's way of thinking is abnormal. Few normal people will reject a friend and then expect things to go back to the way that they were so easily. No. When you have history, when you have background, it's not going to go away so easily. It's always going to be a part of your life. Shizune does, because she sees life as, if I had to put it simply, capable of being segmented and compartmentalized. Misha, like anyone else, sees it as a whole experience, a long, continuous journey where one moment of heartache could follow you forever. For Shizune, an event is an event, and few of them cross over. Life is compartmentalized after triumphs, failures, and decisions, where each one stands as its own story. It's why the thought of a vacation is jarring to her. It's why she can only appreciate people's immediate emotions. It's exactly how someone obsessed with living in the moment would think, really. Likewise, Shizune can see Misha as a friend, but I doubt that she has ever thought of Misha as anything more until recently, or questioned about anything about her. Misha as Misha would be enough for her, even if to Misha it must be unbelievably stifling. Shizune is just Shizune to herself. It's like she doesn't even think about the after effects of her actions in the long term. As long as they stir up other people's lives, to Misha though, I'm sure it made her seem almost heroic, like Yuko admiring her bravery and even myself. And Shizune's thoughts on that settlement are that it was good she could touch someone's life, but it ends there. It's easy to captivate, much harder to nurture. On to the next thing. Thinking of life in terms of almost completely isolated events has a tendency to isolate a person too. Though she's trying to remedy it now, the point remains, there is simply no way Shizune could have avoided hurting Misha. Her emotional investment in Shizune was something Shizune couldn't account for, so she didn't. Combined with her personality, it was inevitable. Both of them have pretty much told me all of that in bits and pieces over the past couple of months I've known them. In the middle of considering their differences, an idea begins to take shape in my mind. Are you working on your plan right now? This second. Your cheer up Misha plan. Of course, I was thinking about it the whole time I was being yelled at. Flickering her glasses up the bridge of her nose with an oddly triumphant air, she taps her finger against her temple. It's multitasking. Really? Isn't it more like you're able to concentrate on something like that because you can't hear? That's a bad way to put it. Well, whatever. When I ask her what she thinks of mine, it turns out we both arrived at a similar idea. And what would that idea be exactly? Although it makes me feel kind of uneasy since we're talking about a human being, the first step is to corner Misha. How are we going to do that? Though the situation's a little too much like something out of a cop drama for me, it comes to this because talking to her normally is proving to be near impossible. But we do have class together, even the very first class of the day. Although it takes a while for the announcement to come, the second I hear we're going to be working in groups today, Shizune and I try to make sure Misha is in ours. You know, I think Muto's assigns us a especially large amount of group work and self-study, don't you think so? But it's easy, so it's okay, right? Yeah, there's other stuff I'm thinking about lately. That might not be okay, though. Misha nods after each sentence, then brushes it all aside. I thought about it, and I don't do enough work when I work with you and Sai-chan, so I'm going to try hard today, so don't distract me. Ai-chan, I have to stay focused. That was an annoyingly transparent dodge. Shizune doesn't look too happy either, since Misha didn't bother to sign any of it, opting to twirl a pen in the hand instead. From the shaky way she was doing it, I'm sure it was so she wouldn't sign anything inadvertently. From the way Misha looks, distracted and uneasy, I doubt it's because she wants to keep Shizune out of a loop for any malicious reason. Not maliciousness. Although it's so obvious a way of distancing Shizune from herself. Shizune wants to talk to you. Can't it wait until later, Hai-chan? But later won't be at all possible, and much later won't be possible. 50 years would not be possible. No, why not now? We're in the middle of class. Now she's spinning a pen in each hand. I'm beginning to think her signing has turned into a kind of a nervous tic for her. This isn't a good replacement, although the sight of her dual wielding is pretty impressive. After class, Ben? After class, don't waste a second bringing it back up. As everyone else flies out of the classroom, leaving the three of us alone, Misha takes increasingly longer glances in every direction except forward. Do you want to get something to eat? Why do you and Sai-chan keep asking me if I want to eat something, Hai-chan? Because we're all headed to the cafeteria and we haven't eaten together in a long time, so why not? Is this about student council? Taking Shizune's lack of reply as admission, Misha sighs. Shizune, is that all you ever think about? Before Shizune can reply, she leaves. I have to say I'm not left feeling very confident about what's just happened. Neither of us were expecting it to go so smoothly, but it would have been nice. Reading my mind, Shizune curls a finger around her glasses for a while before signing. I know what you're thinking, but no, it's not that I think we should give her some space now. I told you I wouldn't give up so easily. Yeah, well, now I'm starting to wonder if it's not too soon. Cold feet? Well, I'm not going to. They'll be giving up on her. There's a fine line between helping someone and smothering them, but I just want Mish to pull herself together and stop acting so weird. I know she can do it, even if she wants to try. People don't change overnight. If they could, the world would be a much easier place. Okay, you win. But I guess this is the part where we split up and look for her. Though I'm the only one who is really supposed to find her. If I run into her first, I'll call your cell phone. Shizune. Oh, smiling, Shizune takes out her cell phone, turning it on to prepare. I notice that she has an extremely high number of unread messages, and looking at her expression, so does she. Twirling it around by the strap a couple of times, she grimaces. I don't like using this thing. Why can't I just snap my fingers? And then what? I'm not a dog, and it doesn't travel as far as a phone signal. You're having a lot of fun with this, aren't you? Shaking her head from side to side, she continues. It's obvious where she would go. You can't look for her on the school grounds. She would want to go as far away as she can. Check the tea shop. It's usually empty this early. Misha loves to go there as she feels like skipping class, and she loves the pathways they have there. You really know a lot about her, but she would overthink it and turn it into something that would seem a lot more backhanded than it actually is, so I choose to just nod and leave instead until I feel her holding onto my sleeve. What? I say instinctively, forgetting that she can't hear me. It feels nice that I don't have to do it all by myself anymore, because I can trust you. I'm really happy. It makes me happy to hear it. I can't think of a way to respond and end up only nodding again. Heading outside, I catch a glimpse of pink hair behind some other girls ahead, and as I head that way I realise that this isn't the way you go if you want to leave school. It's the way to the student council room. If I wanted to avoid Shizune, I wouldn't head there. It's strange that Misha would be going in that direction then. Maybe she wants to talk things over with Shizune. In which case, I have to wonder if letting things play out naturally would be such a bad idea after all, especially if it seems as if it's going in a good direction. Suddenly Misha stops and spins around, catching me by surprise. Surprise, Hai-chan, were you looking for me? I had a feeling. I was going to say, hey, I was just looking, but I suppose that's no good. Exactly. She isn't even finished with her sentence before she blows past me, heading for the exit. I have to admit that Misha is infuriatingly sharper than I expected. Also surprisingly fast. Although it's more physical activity than I think I should be getting, I managed to catch up with her halfway to the gate. You're really being the rudest woman in the whole world right now. Can you stop trying to run away for 1 second? I want to talk to you. Misha turns on her heel, looking mildly amused, and raises her hands as if to tell me to go on, now I've gotten her attention, though it's hard to think of the right thing to say. Where are you going now? The Shanghai. Can I go with you then? Waiting for her to answer feels like an eternity. It's almost as if I can hear my wrist watch ticking off the individual seconds. Okay then, Hai-chan. I get the sense she only agreed because she doesn't want to argue anymore today. When we get there, a couple comes in after us, causing Misha to jump slightly at the noise. Seeing that it isn't Shizune, she relaxes again, smiling almost as usual to order a path rate from Yuko and sliding into the nearest booth. You ran off too fast. You could have at least waited to see what she was going to say. Misha's angry reaction tells me that it could be that she was afraid of what Shizune might say. Why are you both doing this, Hai-chan? Because Shizune still wants to be your friend. I guess that for her it's kind of like launching a nuclear missile from a submarine. You need 2 keys to do it. What else can she do though? She isn't automatically signing whatever she hears or says anymore, and I'm sure that is the reason Shizune's been having so much trouble with her. If she tried to talk it over, you wouldn't listen. Misha's guilty expression tells me that I've hit the mark. Do you really hate Shizune that much? No, Hai-chan, I told you that. She answers without even flinching, idly playing with a spoon. Yeah, I know. I'm sure she knows it too, but I wonder if it might be easier if you did. The only thing she's really thought about for the last week is how to make you happy, since Shizune is still attached to you. Yesterday, though, she thought that maybe it would be easiest for you if you just hated her. Since you didn't tell her you hate her, Shizune thinks that you can both still be friends. She's like that, only thinking in extremes. Her pathway is starting to melt. The ingredients coming together in tiny rivers. It reminds me of the growing roots of a tree being shown through time-lapse photography. That's stupid. Sai-chan isn't that stupid, Hai-chan. Don't be ridiculous. It's got nothing to do with intelligence. Smart people can do stupid things. Exactly. And, dare I say it, dumb people can do incredible things. And anyway, isn't it true? I was terrified last week when we talked, but at the end, I was relieved because it sounded like things might be going back to normal. I wasn't expecting you two to have a fight right after. It wasn't a fight, Hai-chan, it was just me yelling at her. I've noticed that Misha's voice never really changed in tone, just volume. It's so low with guilt, but I can hardly believe it came from her. Either way, I was happy, because I thought you and her could still be friends, since she needs you. No she doesn't, Hai-chan. So, how do you know that? There's a lot of things Shizune doesn't. Vocalize? Say? Talk about? I'm afraid if I say the wrong thing it'll ruin the mood. I guess if I have a conversation with her and don't want to screw it up. I wonder if this is the first time she's had an honest conversation with me. Just because she doesn't tell you doesn't mean she doesn't like you. That doesn't make sense. It does actually make sense. Because you don't say something doesn't mean you don't think it. Yes, it does. Otherwise she would argue back. You don't think so? She picks fights with everyone, so why not you? Obviously because you're her friend and she values you. And Shizune is hurt too. She's just awful at showing her feelings. Usually does it in the wrong way too. But she still likes you. Hai-chan. Do you remember when I said I didn't want to hate Sai-chan or upset her? The truth is, I ended up doing both. Now it's like there's like an awkwardness between us. It's hard to explain. Both of you are so stubborn. You were talking about how you didn't want to draft apart from Shizune, but then you're going to let it happen. And Shizune is just as bad. She wants to be your friend but respects you too much to be as aggressive as she'd be with everyone else. Anyone else. And I'm sure that Misha interrupts Shizune giving her space as a lack of caring. I screwed up already, Hai-chan. It'll happen again, I'm sure. When I think about it that way, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It feels like either way I'll end up making things worse. Then it might be better if I didn't do anything at all, right? No. Not doing anything is worse. Rather than coming to a definite answer of either one or the other, you're making things worse by prolonging the inevitable. Don't be ridiculous. Why would you even think that way in the first place? Be more positive. It should be easy for you, I want to say, but that would be presumptuous. Hai-chan, I never knew you were so optimistic. I never expected it. You always act so gloomy when I try and surprise you. No, this is a recent thing. Really, I just hate it when people give up so easily now. Now, huh? It makes me mad. It makes me mad when people give up. I used to think that giving up was kind of like running away, since that's how people always described it. But now that I think about it, it's usually more like throwing something away. When you run away from something, you can think of it as still being there. So, I was in the hospital, and I didn't just want to run away from my problems, I wanted to never think about them again. Misha eats a spoonful of her ice cream goo. Did she only just remember it was there now? Or could it be she likes it that way? Anyway, my point is, you can't do that. People are too sentimental to just throw their memories out like that. It always sticks with you, no matter how happy or painful that memory is. It'll always be there. But the difference between somebody who keeps trying to run away from their problems and somebody who accepts their problems, deals with it and moves on, is that we're not trying to run away from something. The person who's dealt with their problems are a person who has come up from the other side of something that's terrible. But you can't keep running away from your problems. It's impossible. Shizune can't think of life in terms of anything but winning and losing. Don't you think she wishes she didn't have to remember the parts where she loses? You can't pick and choose though. That's like wanting to live in a bubble. The worst part is, your way of thinking is so wasteful. It makes you so pessimistic, you're afraid of everything. Come on. I grab her hand as I wave Yuka over with the other to pay for our food. Where are we going? Back to school before lunch is over. But I want to check out a few places before then. Although I start feeling tired even after doing what could be described as on the level of a brisk jog at best, Misha and I eventually make it to the gate of the school with a little over 10 minutes to spare. I didn't even want to really come to this school, you know. I didn't have a choice. When I got to this gate, I'm sure a part of me was thinking, what a depressing place. It doesn't look depressing at all though. Well, I still thought I had everything figured out. I felt practically like another person. If I could, I'd go back and tell myself to stop thinking he could write everything off at a glance, and acting like his life is already over, and he could never have fun again. The school grounds are still littered with quite a few people. It's lunchtime, so it's typical. This is where you and Shizune had me helping you put together 2 festivals. What a lot of hard work, I thought. I don't have time for this. When I look back on it, though, I didn't do all that much. I also didn't have anything better to do. I'd have just spent the time alone. I drag her to our homeroom next. We're recounting memories, which is empty, except for Muto trying to eat a sandwich before class resumed. Every time I thought of either of you, I wish you would leave me alone, whether it was here or... Leaving Muto to his lunch, we head for the nearby vending machine, and I grab a soda while I still have 5 minutes to drink it. I spent an entire lunch period with Misha, longer than both Shizune and I have managed to find to talk to her in days. Following me to the cafeteria or trying to corner me after half my classes. I never realized we only talked like 4 times. It really was all in my head. I only barely realized it now. I remember that Hai-chan, but I know where all these places are too. Wait, let me finish my guided tour, since we're running out of time. By the way, do you want a soda? Making our way to the stairwell, I'm glad I don't have to pull her by the hand anymore. You get dizzy on stairs, right? Yeah? I guess just here is good enough then. I lean against the wall as Misha steps down onto the steps across from me. Do you ever miss the people you went to school with in elementary school or middle school? No? That was fast. She didn't even have to think about it. I find myself cringing reflexively. I had more friends in my old school, but I don't talk to them anymore. It almost feels like that was another lifetime ago, which is sad, really. Sometimes I want to talk to them again, but I know I can't. I'm scared and embarrassed. Things like that. They're too far away for me to go and see them. Then I think about calling them, but I don't know most of their numbers. And I left on a sour note, so why would they want to see me again? It feels like I should just forget about it, but I still think about it anyway and regret that I didn't try harder to stay in touch somehow. And I start to think that maybe feeling like I should forget about it is wrong. It would be an insult to all those people I had fun with and a waste of all the good times. Like I said before, even if there are some bad times too, it's alright if you can look back on them as happy memories. But I didn't have to think about it then, so it was like I woke up one day and realised I had no friends. I just let myself lose all my friends, and it felt awful. I'd really hate it if you and Shizune end up the same way. That's all. That's all. It makes me sad to think that you'll do the same thing and push away your friend. Especially because you're not far away from Shizune. I mean, you even live in the same dorm. Friend, Aren't you my friend too, Hai-chan? Yeah. You slept through all of it, but the fireworks were really nice back at the festival. My first time seeing fireworks like that, and my first time really seeing the sky in a while, and I never really looked at the stars before then either. I'd thumbed through a book about them while I was in hospital, and it learned a lot. Like the stars aren't just burning, they're more like a constant chain of explosions. So far away that some of the stars I'd be seeing would have been burnt out of thousands of years already. It's that their light would only just then be reaching Earth. I saw a mock-up comparing the size of the planet to our sun. Yep, and then that to other suns. Japan wasn't even visible on the tiny Earth in that book. You know what I'd never realised? She looks at me expectantly. They're amazingly shiny. It's true. Why are you doing this, Hai-chan? Doing what? I'm not stupid. I don't know. A bunch of reasons. Because you're Shizune's friend, and I liked how close you were. And maybe I'm trying to tell you that we all have our low points, but giving up is stupid. Anyway, it seems worth the trouble. That's the only reason, and you're my friend. That's it? Can't I do something for no reason? You can, but I want to know. Well, what else do you want to hear? The bell rings before Misha replies, so she ends up laughing instead. That's not a wonderful reply by any means given necessary. I feel I should continue this to the very end. The next day, Misha is back in class, although still looking pretty sullen. Not that I was expecting her to magically feel better, that would be asking the impossible considering what happened. This time it's Shizune who's out. At first it almost makes me laugh that suddenly whenever one is in the class the other isn't, but think about it, there's nothing funny about it at all. In fact, I find it hard to concentrate on my work because of it. It could be that she's just sick, or she could simply be skipping class. It could also be something more serious, and I'm tempted to ask Misha if she knows, but I end up doing nothing. Or maybe Misha doesn't even know at all. Or maybe it's student council related. I don't regret stepping in yesterday, scared that Misha would do something rash. But now I feel like I should give her some space. Eventually the bell rings and Misha gets up for lunch along with everyone else. I decided to eat lunch in an empty classroom today, not just this one. Unfortunately, a lot of the other students seem to have the same idea, so there aren't a whole lot of empty classrooms to go around. Finally about to give up on the idea, I find a dark one at the end of the hall. On turning the lights on, however, I find that this one isn't empty either. Lily's head turns in my direction, which freaks me out before I realise she's probably heard me flipping the light switch. Hello? Hey Lily, I didn't think anyone else would be here. Is that you, Hisao? Yeah, but you probably knew that already. I turn to leave, which prompts Lily to quickly speak up. You don't have to leave so quickly. We could both have lunch in the same room. As a matter of fact, I would prefer to eat with someone else. I'm about to ask her how she knew I was here to eat lunch, but brush it aside because it's lunchtime. It's just simple common sense, and I don't want to seem too easily impressed. I take a seat at the desk in front of Lily, either reversing it to face hers. I've heard that our minds fill in a lot of what we see based on how we remember seeing it once before, on our expectations. Mostly for efficiency, so as to not have to process everything looked at individually. Lily never seems to stop to question any noise, so I wonder if it's because her mind is filling in context every time, or does she not care and just sort of accept things as they fall into place. On her desk there are just a few cookies and a thermos of tea. She must be one of those light lunch types, so I bite into my sandwich, something green spit out the packet. We haven't spoken in a long time. I'm surprised you still remember my name. It must be very busy in the student council. It's different every week. Some weeks are pretty slow, some weeks I consider taking a sick day. Hold on, Lily. I need a second to catch my breath from inhaling that sandwich. And how's it been lately? Unpredictable. I snap my fingers, which from her facial expression upsets her a lot. I think we've been hanging around with those two too much. I guess it's one of Shizune's trademarks. Personally, I like it. I ignore it. Her tone doesn't change ever slightly, but Lily's mood has obviously dipped. Doesn't seem like it would be easy to, but I've been trying to figure out how she can make it so loud, but I think I'm damaging my knuckles. Even if it were loud enough to break the windows, I'll ignore it. I'm not a trained seal, I have that luxury. Are you still mad about that? I ask the question as carefully and diplomatically as possible, although in the end I'm only asking to satisfy my curiosity. No, of course not, although I don't like Shizune. We were in a student council together for a brief time. I heard. I wish you hadn't been so quick to join. I don't like the way Shizune runs student council. Do you know that she's scared off most of our old members? That is why I think she tries to surround herself with people who won't oppose her. And they don't. It's like a dependency bubble. You know what? Lily's hit that on the mark actually. I'm sure that Shizune is aware of what Lily is saying. After all, I can remember her specifically denying it a couple of times, which I always thought was strange. They say that the more specific a denial is, the more likely it is that the allegations are true. In this case, I think I disagree. Shizune is one on which her opinion could be called less than objective. Did you tell her that? Very often. Lily stops to polish off the last of her tea. I'm running behind on finishing my own lunch to take advantage of a pause to eat as much as possible. All of her friends are related to a student council like Misha. I heard things are touchy between her and Misha. Did they have a fight? Not really. Is that so? Either way, there's no point in attempting to force them to make up. Always try to confront everything head on is what Shizune would do, but it doesn't work in the real world. And at some point it's just being stubborn, not bravery or good intentions. That is... I would say that's half true. That's a little general, don't you think? I suppose. What do you think is the best to have with tea? Cookies or scones? I like them both in different ways. I can't possibly choose. I don't like people constantly force me to pick sides or want to turn everything into a contest. I would say try both and then see which one comes out on top. When I joined the student council, I thought it would just mean helping everything run smoothly and helping people out, like being the class representative. Instead, every day consists of having Shizune stomp around, using Misha like a megaphone, to talk about how we had to outdo the last student council and create more and more events and make them increasingly larger. But then the two of you basically want the same thing. All that stuff makes things exciting. I don't really get it at first, but it's not some ego project. People like fireworks and sober huts, candied apples, and dress-up days or whatever. The more the student council does, the more responsibility the school gives us. It means extra work, but in a way it also means more freedom. You have to pull to do things like organise a big festival, and they'll think you're capable enough to handle it instead of just rejecting it instantly. Anyway, I want that too now. It's got a share of pointless busy work, but there are moments that makes it worth it when everything comes together. It gives me something to do. If I were just to go to school day in, day out, I think I'd explode. I think Yamako is much more easygoing than other schools. Yamako isn't other schools though. I start slipping into another familiar mentality. In some ways, it's almost too easygoing. And if I were a different person, I'm sure that I would find how easygoing it was to be stifling. Though in any other school, such easiness would just be would just be the normal flow of life. But here, the uneventful would be compounded. It would feel different because I'm not a normal person after all. I'd be reminded of it every time I heard the blood beat in my temples. I felt patronized and weak, and my bitterness would only grow. Yeah, sure. The point is, I think I understand what it's all about now. You're really giving Shizune too much of a hard time. Really? That might be true, but when it comes to how she treats individual people, she doesn't do very well. Unfortunately, that one's a little harder to argue. Yeah, it definitely is. Do you have the time? I'd like to go in class 10 minutes before the bell. Then you're right on time if you go now. Excusing herself, Lily leaves, and I sit listening to the clicking of her cane on the floor fade into the mumble of other students having conversation in the other classrooms in the hall. I feel exhausted and completely forgot that I wanted to talk to Shizune today. What will the next day bring about for us? Moving forward. These games can be kind of tiring if you're looking to record for a long period of time, but it's well rewarding because you get to do less episodes in the long run. After class the next day, I instantly head towards the student council room to talk to Shizune. Even though she's in class, trying to cut her off and have a conversation with her near the doorway or out in the hall can be a little obstructive. Best try and meet up with her at the student council room. I take my time heading there, getting a juice from the vending machine on the way. I also go over what I wanted to say to her in my head. It's nothing too important, only a few questions about upcoming events. The door is unlocked when I get there. I'd think the room was empty too, if I couldn't see Shizune's bag perched on her desk. With the top of her head peeking from behind it, it looks as though she built herself a little fort. Shizune gives away from behind her bag before picking up with her finger and moving it out of the way. But after that, she immediately goes back to tapping her pen against the desk and staring into a checklist as if it held the meaning of life itself in it. What do you need? I want to see if there was anything I could help with, like all that over there. What are those? I point to the medium-sized stack of folders beside her, but she waves her hand dismissively. I can handle it myself. Then what about the elections? Also, where's Misha? It's going okay, and I told Misha that I was going to handle everything myself. Why? Shizune spins a pen in her hand slowly, working it between each of her fingers like a needle through a patch of cloth. No reason. Really? No reason. She signs it again for emphasis, to shut down the notion that there's anything more behind it. But there is, since she's definitely not acting normally. What's with the silent treatment is the phrase that immediately springs to mind, even though it is hardly the time for humour. It does describe how I feel. We can't communicate normally, so I appreciate the few things we can. To be shut out like this hurts. It's obvious that whatever her reasons, it's going to be pretty much impossible to talk to Shizune today. Beyond just being stubborn, she seems depressed. But with the way our conversation is going already, I don't see myself being able to find out what she's depressed about. Somehow that only makes me want to find out more, and that means I have to ask Misha. The problem is I don't really know where Misha goes in her spare time. After asking way more people than I should have, they've located a girl with bright pink hair around and getting way more negative answers than expected. I finally found a couple who have seen her. By the time I reach the cafeteria where Misha has apparently been this entire time, I've been around this whole school twice and I'm very tired. I realise I've passed by her before and you didn't see her behind a pillar. Why are you better at finding me than I am finding you? You were looking for me, Hai-chan? Who knows? I think it's just a coincidence. You know, the whole point of coincidences is that they aren't consistent. Are you having a really late lunch? I didn't get to eat at lunchtime, so yeah, but not too much. So I can still have dinner. Do you want to talk to me about something, Hai-chan? I don't waste any time. Yeah, the reason I'm here, did you notice Shizune has been kind of moody today? I wanted to ask the same thing, Hai-chan. Well, except she's been this way for a couple of days now. I see. Hai-chan, do you think it's because of something I did? Do you think I got upset about, at Sai-chan like last time? No, she seems angry at me anyway. I'm not lying, I really don't. Unfortunately, my attempts to assure her that doesn't seem to be going so well. In her own way, Misha is pretty stubborn too. Eventually, I just head back to my dorm. The last 3 days have been nothing but a continuously frustrating experience, and they left me drained. I feel tired enough I decided to take a nap, hoping that maybe I'll figure things out in my sleep. Or maybe someone will just come barging in because they eventually realized what you have done, Hisao, to Misha. I'm expecting a wake-up of sorts. It's night time. When I wake up, I feel more refreshed, but still without clarity. The only thing that has changed is that it's dark outside. From opening the window a little, I could tell the weather is still kind of nice. After dry swallowing my nighttime pills, I take a little walk to the vending machines. They're out of everything I'd normally get, so I mash my hands against the buttons and until something pops out. The lights are off in the main building, including the student council room. Just an offhand observation. As I'm thinking to myself, I hear a rustling behind me. I've seen this movie before, and that is a very ominous sound to hear, alone at night.